Keeping your business healthy in today's marketplace can be a challenging and overwhelming task. From the threat of litigation inside and outside your organization and the inefficiencies that can rob your bottom line as a result of unproven marketing programs, the deck can be stacked against you. To get ahead of these challenges and stay ahead of your competition, the Bottled Business Sense Show provides practical business solutions that uniquely emphasize key legal principles, management techniques, and marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection principles equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Join your host, Bill Bernard, Rick Moscoso, and Steve Smith for some high-energy discussion that will inspire you to take control of your business so it can prosper in today's consistently challenging business environment.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday at 10 a.m. right here on the Bottled Business Sense Show, and I'm Rick Moscoso. Excited to be here today to share another episode with my two co-hosts there on the other side. We have Mr. Bill Bernard and Mr. Steve Smith, and I use Mr. very lightly. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, good morning, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing great. Mr. Bill, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Getting ready for another good day and a good episode here that I think is going to bring some real interesting news to folks, because I've always wondered about this, measuring marketing and finding out if it's effective and whether it's just a simple matter of measuring profits. And so I'm looking forward to what questions you've got for Steve. And so let's get started, because I really am interested in this topic.
Yeah, I think, what you just said is really goes hand in hand. How do you measure marketing effectively so you can see how is the marketing affecting your profits, and what kind of adjustments do you really need to make? This kind of goes along with our previous episode towards the end when we talked about having the right metrics for your video. Now let's take a look at a broad sense of marketing for your business. And so we have Steve here as a business coach talking about how to tell if your marketing is effective. And so to start things off, Steve, I know when you are coaching a business owner and you take a look at the overall landscape of where they're at, what they need to do, and in this case, we're looking at their marketing tactics or their marketing plan. Tell us, what is it that you look at specifically for the first time when you try and make a determination if their marketing is working or not?
I try to keep things really simple, and a big part of figuring out if the marketing is working does get into metrics, and we can certainly spend some time talking about that. But up front, it's really just the whole idea that as a business entity, you may offer a variety of things, okay? Nobody remembers laundry lists. People remember specifics. And so what I tend to look at is, what's the primary focus of the business? Bill, you have a law firm. You provide legal services to businesses. I've worked with other companies that have logistics services, so they ship goods back and forth. But when I look at the marketing, first thing I'm asking is why? Why should I bother doing business with you, or even thinking about doing business with you? So initially, there's got to be some general connection, because in any marketing strategy, you've only got three parts. You got the intended audience, the target market you're trying to penetrate. You got the message, the thing you're trying to tell them. And then you've got whatever vehicles you're going to use to get that message in front of that audience. So there's a lot of other specialties that people can incorporate in to make marketing really complicated, but when you strip it all away, that's what you're looking at. So the first thing I look at is their alignment. Do they understand who they're talking to, and do they know what to say to them to get a reaction, to get some kind of a decision on the other end? And are they simply providing a regular diet of that stuff through some channels that are actually going to get in front of that target audience?
Well, let me just throw something at you right away, because this has been something that I've been fascinated about. I've never been able to really explain it. you got a famous commercial. Remember the Capital One commercials, right?
Mm-hmm.
With what's his name? Who's that actor?
Alec Baldwin.
Right? Alec Baldwin, right? And he really. I mean, you can tell because they continue to have those types of commercials consistently. So you assume, maybe inappropriately, but I assume that commercial's working for him. Okay, so you have a spokesman, you got him on board. Let's say this isn't an issue of money. Now they change over to another actor, okay, who's doing, and boy, I'm bad with actors' names, but he played in so many movies, black actor, and I just can't think of his name. But anyway, Morgan Freeman, isn't it? No, not Morgan Freeman. Yeah. It's another gentleman. But anyway, you switch over to this other famous actor who now is doing the commercial a little bit differently, Steve, but with the same general premise, what's in your wallet, that kind of a thing.
Right.
So now why change that up? If it's working so good with Alec Baldwin, why would you make a change like that? I mean, what does that encompass?
Okay, well, all right. So here's why companies do that. And there's actually another company that has been making quite a bit of visibility on TV, and it's an auto insurance company. It's called Liberty Mutual.
Yes.
And so they have different scenarios with different people talking about different reasons that you might not be satisfied with your current auto insurance, which the implication is call them, find out about what they can do. But whether it's that or the credit card company, Samuel L. Jackson is who you're thinking of.
Yes, that's right. Yes, thank you.
They haven't deviated from the message, okay? The message is all about, do you know what you're carrying in your wallet, and is it giving you the perks and the rewards that you're entitled to for using it to buy stuff? Mm-hmm. So at some point, they're going to run with a guy like Alec Baldwin, and there's some people that like him and some people that don't. So he'll run his course. And then they'll bring another one in, like a Samuel L. Jackson, with a different flavor, a different take on that same thing. And if you're successful at bringing in different people to talk differently about the same fundamental thing, you can get a lot more mileage out of the theme of a commercial strategy or commercial campaign. Okay.
So they've made a determination that the theme is so successful that it's not going to matter who's delivering the theme?
Well, not going to matter. It's just that they have the ability to adapt to the audience they're trying to reach by putting different spokespeople in front of those audiences with the same message. Yeah. Here's another example of a company that for a long time did this with the same exact guy, and at some point they went to a completely different campaign, and it's Verizon Wireless. Remember that guy that used to walk around all the time? He'd be in stadiums, he'd be in the desert, he'd be all over the place. And the line was always, can you hear me now?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
So the guy with the horn rimmed glasses.
Right. Yeah. So they ran with that guy for probably years and got a lot of mileage out of it. But at some point, the "can you hear me now" thing started to fade because wireless had gotten to a point where there was very little places people could go and not hear anybody. So now they had to step up their game. They had to change the message, come up with something else as a reason why people should leave AT&T or leave Sprint or T-Mobile or any of the other competitors and go with them. So, Bill, to your question, it's not a question of why would you change up. It's really figuring out at what point to make the change before your existing campaign message runs dry.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So how do you take this example that Bill brought up and bring it back to the entrepreneur who maybe doesn't even look at these things that closely or doesn't really understand very deeply like you see it, right, as an outsider? How do you put all this stuff together, relate it to the small business owner, and how do you help develop a method or simplify a method to determine how effective their marketing is in their business?
Okay, so here's a stripped down version, and I want to get through this reasonably quick so people can kind of see how it flows. But the first thing you have to do is identify your client. And it's not just the demographics of who they are and where they live and how much they make and what kind of family and what neighborhood they live in, all that kind of stuff. That's important to know so that you've got them in the right scope. But what you're really trying to figure out is how they think, because if you can figure out what's important to them and what values they have, you'll understand how they make decisions, because that's the essence of marketing is can you influence someone that you may not have met before to make a decision, to go to your website, to download a white paper or an ebook or an audio of some kind, to go to your YouTube channel and watch a video, and then go to your website and maybe take advantage of something that you offer. It's kind of like the chicken and the corn kernels to some respect. You have to put up enough viable corn kernels so that people will follow the path. Because if people, after eating the first couple of corn kernels, say, that doesn't taste very good, then they're gone. So then immediately what you're doing is not, it might start out working, but it's not lasting. It doesn't have sustainability to it. Mm-hmm. So figure out what that client looks like and what they want. And here's where it's difficult. When you get into professional service industries like financial advisors or CPAs, or people that provide wealth management services, or lawyers like you, Bill. I mean, because you and I worked on this a couple of years ago, and it wasn't easy. You've got so many people doing this, essentially the same thing, that you got to figure out what you're going to talk about that's going to resonate with people and allow them to choose you over the other 12 people that they probably know or have access to.
Right. Right.
So that marketing message has got to have some resonating tone to it, whether it's in an article you write where you're giving people tips about how to deal with, with a lawsuit or employee issue, or, Rick, when you're doing a video and you're trying to show people, if they're going to do it themselves, what kind of things you have to worry about if you're going to make a decent video. You've got to put yourself out there as somebody that can be trusted, somebody that knows what they're doing, and somebody that person says, wow, I'd like to work with him or her.
Right.
So those kind of things have to be in place in order for you to start a marketing process so that you can look at it and say, okay, it's delivering the results I'm looking for. Those results might be website traffic, because once you get them on your website, then they have choices about what to do there.
Well, Steve, let's say you've got somebody who, who's flowing along and he's making money. And let's say he's comfortable, but he or she could be making more money.
Right.
What do you have to look at? What do you review once you already have a marketing plan in place to determine if it's working, besides the amount of profits you're making? Let's say, again, you're making profits that you think are, this is pretty good. I'm having a good year. Is it worth reviewing your marketing plan even when you're doing fairly well to see if you could be doing even better? And if so, how do you go about doing that?
All right. The first thing you have to ask yourself when you're doing well is, do you want to do better? Some people like to get to a point where the business is manageable, it's consistent, it's not difficult to keep moving, and they're happy with that. And if that's the case, then all I would say is make sure your marketing is consistent, it's current. You're always looking for new ways to get the same message out to other people. Oh my gosh! I know when it starts ringing like that, it's hard to stop it. Hold on.
You see, people are already after you for your marketing.
Yeah, I can edit this out.
They're already after you for your marketing, Steve. They're already after.
I'm back. All right. So, sure, you should always have your marketing looked at ongoingly, because the problem with marketing is when it stops working, it's not like some light goes off in your office and says, oh, your marketing's broken. It systematically just starts to be ineffective. And usually you don't realize that until you find out what the cause of it is, because all of a sudden your phone is ringing X number of times a week and it's not ringing anymore. You were getting amount of traffic to your website and that traffic's dropped in half. Those kind of things can tell you instantly that something is not right, because what you've been expecting has changed.
So how do you mitigate that sudden drop? I mean, what kind of metrics do you put in place so a business owner can closely watch those things after you've designed a marketing plan for them or with them to enhance what they're doing and pointed out all these things? How can they keep going back and doing their checks and balances so they don't get back into the same situation?
Okay. The end result of your marketing, because whenever I ask people, like, what do you want out of your marketing? Well, the default answer is always, we want more business. Okay, well, Sure, that's what the marketing is basically designed to do, is give you added visibility and credibility and draw people to you so you can do more business. But the goals in marketing should be very, very specific, okay? Let's say you own a restaurant and you want to boost your marketing. So what you're probably going to do is not only have coupons or things available on the internet, maybe on Yelp or other restaurant guides, but you might float flyers out to your community where your patrons are coming from. And so basically, when you do that, that's an indication of whether it's going to work or not. If you distribute 1,000 flyers over the course of 3 weeks and you get 3 people showing up to your restaurant with those flyers in their hands or those coupons, then that's probably an indication that maybe it didn't work as well as you thought.
What about something as simple, Steve, as calling your clients and asking them what they think of your marketing? Some of your existing clients. Is it something that's reasonable to do?
No, I personally don't think so. You're probably going to get a lot of people that'll tell you otherwise. But when you ask a client what they think of your marketing, you're assuming that they're dialed into what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And some of the best marketing to me is almost invisible. People are being marketed to. They just don't realize it. Yeah. All they know is they've seen something that really looks good and they want it.
Well, I have one last burning question before we close the show, and I know Rick might have a few things, so I don't want to take up too much of his time. But here's something that I just have to put to you. You got one of the most successful franchises in the world. In fact, I heard that there's waiting lists beyond compare for this franchise, and that's Subway. Now, before Jared, the spokesperson, ran into his legal problems, my understanding is that they stopped using Jared prior to that time. So if that company is so successful, and of course we know Jared's commercials were tremendously successful for a number of years, why would you then, and let's assume that there were no legal issues at the time, why would you make a change in those circumstances, Steve? Because that makes people, I think, scratch their head and say, gee, that was so great. Why are you changing that up? Is it just a matter of worrying about it getting stale?
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it. And again, remember what the whole purpose of marketing is. Marketing is to evoke some type of reaction from people who see it, whether it's TV, print, video, social media, texting. There's a lot of this mobile marketing going on. Whatever you choose to do that you think is the best vehicle to get in front of your audience, at some point you've got to recognize that repetition, it's like the Chinese water torture. Repetition makes people go numb. So for a lot of your marketers, a lot of your advertising agencies, as great as it is to come up with a campaign that really wows the heck out of the community, out of the public they're trying to get in front of, they also recognize that it's just important to know when to get out and to get into the next thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that, the whole idea with Jared was, he lost a ton of weight. Okay. Well, because he ate Subway, and Subway, you can get a sandwich there and it's only got 6 grams of fat in it or something like that. Well, what they're really trying to do is get people to come to Subway because subs can be healthy for you. They were trying to change people's perception of that kind of food. The fact that Jared talked about it was great, but he had a life cycle just like a lot of other spokespeople.
So now they've got that healthy issue planted in people's brains. It may come down to something as simple as, hey, we don't need Jared anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, or his contract runs out, you just decide that you want to go another way. Now that you've got people thinking about healthy eating with subs, maybe the next thing you go to is look at all the varieties we can offer you and still keep you in the healthy zone. Because there's, a lot of times when people think healthy, they think, oh, all the food I can't eat. Right. So, if you could all of a sudden start telling people, wow, you can still have the sub of your choice and still stay healthy, you don't necessarily need the former spokesman for that. In fact, it's probably a good idea to bring in a new spokesman. I'll tell you a company that does a really good job with this is Weight Watchers. They bring in various celebrities who have their own personal story to tell, and they show the before and after. But, they had Marie Osmond for a while. She did a great job. But now they have somebody else, and occasionally they bring her back for a cameo. So what they're doing is they're building on it by saying, hey, you don't have to be Marie Osmond to lose weight. You can be these other people too and still have the same level of success. So when you're thinking about marketing, whether it's TV or radio or whatever, you've got to make sure that your underlying message is getting there. And if you're not getting the phone calls, if that's what is your measuring device, if you're not getting the website, traffic, if you're not getting people that are providing reviews on Yelp after they went to your restaurant, all these are indicators that there's something amiss either with your marketing, or after people take advantage because of your marketing, the actual experience was a letdown. That's another problem that a lot of people, they get into this trap. They market like crazy. They are the bomb when it comes to marketing. The problem is when they take advantage of the product or service, it's a big letdown.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah, I got your $20 now, but I'll never see another $20 out of you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I dropped the connection here for a second, and I know you were talking about a big box example with Subway. Do you have a more close to small business owner example of where you've recognized a problem, you've redirected them in their marketing plans, and then we're able to show them some reasonable success in a short amount of time?
Yes, and what I find in this area, professional service firms really can benefit from this kind of thing, because most of the times, I'm talking about law firms, CPA practices, even architectural firms, technical firms, IT consulting firms. A lot of these folks spend so much of their time in their craft, okay, because since they're doing it or they've got other people doing it, that's how they build a reputation. The problem is sometimes nobody knows they exist. So it's just a matter of really kind of building a personality for them in terms of their business, so you have something specific to market. And when you figured out who they are in the marketplace and what they offer and why somebody else who's looking for that should care, then you've got something to talk about. But if you're marketing, if you're spending a lot of money month after month after month and you're not seeing anything for it, what I would tell people right off the bat, I don't even need to know what you do. Go back and look at your message. Look at what you're talking to people about, because that is the first place to look. If all of the stuff you're doing or you're paying somebody else to do for you is not getting you any results, chances are the problem will be in the message. It's blah. It's boring. It has no resonance to it. It's not really talking to anyone in particular. That kind of stuff can kill somebody. It's not like it'll hurt your business. What it does is it just drains your bank account.
Yeah. Hey, boy, amen. Yeah.
So now
go ahead, Rick.
I'm sorry, I just got a quick question. So, Steve, as you go through this discovery process and you see that there's a problem with their messaging, do someone like you help them redirect their thoughts or craft a new message, or do they go to some branding guy to do that, or what does that look like?
Okay, typically I will guide them through the mechanics of really thinking about what's important for them to be talking about, what's the essence of what they do that helps the client they're trying to serve, and get it into message form. And there's a lot of things you can do, because I know, Bill, you and I did some things, and I do these with most of my clients in the marketing area, is survey work, so you can really get to the bottom of why somebody chose you to do business with. You need to understand that, because quite honestly, they could sit there all day and say how wonderful you are to work with. That's meaningless when it comes to marketing, because if I don't know you, that I have no way to base that on. I need to know other things, your values, what you do in particular that I think will help me, and you have to build that into your message. Now, when I get to the point where they're going to choose the vehicle to get that out, maybe they're going to do radio commercials, maybe they're going to do videos, maybe they're going to hire somebody to write articles or do blogging for them or other things, then I will point them, because I don't have the bandwidth for that. That's not my specialty. I know how to do it. I just can't physically provide it. So when it gets to the point where we got the message down really crisp, really strong, people like it, then it's a matter of how you distribute it. And that's where I can bring in other people who can really put a really sharp edge on a good video or other things that we've already determined would be the best way to get that message out.
Well, just another fantastic topic, Steve. How do people, if they want to get a hold of Steve Smith and Growth Source Coaching, how do they do that?
You can go to my website. In fact, I would encourage people to start there, because most of the time people don't really understand what coaching is and what it does, and it's a really good place to go and figure that out. But my office line is 949 951-9163. If you call me, you've got a question, I'll be happy to answer it for you. I'm pretty good with just giving people information so they can make good decisions about things like that. But go to the website, because you can get a lot of freebies, and you kind of learn a lot of things, and really kind of tune yourself up before you decide that you want to bring someone like me into your business world to help you out.
Yeah, well, that's great. For those of you who didn't quite catch the number, the contact information, it is below this video. So please reach out to Steve if you're in need of speaking to someone like him, to at least start the conversation. See where you possibly may need his help to get you back on the right track. So with that, we're coming up on the close of the show. Steve, are there any closing thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
Yes, one thing. If you're going to run a successful business, your primary role at that point is to do whatever you know how to do to generate the revenue that's going to support that business. So whether you do your own marketing or you bring a professional in to do it for you, take ownership for that area, because when that falls off your radar screen, the only way your business is going to survive financially goes with it. So you can't really get away from the marketing. You have to know. It's practice. That's all it is. It's getting used to it, trial and error, figuring out what's working, what's not. But it's got to be an ongoing process. You have to learn to love it, because that's what's going to drive your business from the early years through the growth years and into the established years.
Yeah, and remember that not having a financially sound business, especially if you have a formal business entity, will threaten that corporate veil pretty quickly. Because if you don't have a properly financed business, there have been many court rulings that say, you don't really have a business, you're just operating on your own.
Right, you've got an expensive hobby is what you've got.
Yeah, that's right. So,
that's right.
Well, this great show, huh, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. Bill and Steve, great having you on the show today. Steve, this has been very helpful to me, and I'm sure our audience will share the same feeling. For those of us, for those of business owners that are out there that really marketing isn't their forte, please call on an expert like Steve to help you out. If you have any questions, Steve's available to take that discussion up with you. And appreciate your time, Steve, your expertise. This was really great, and appreciate you your help that you've given our audience today.
And that's what we're here for, right? We're here to
no problem. Glad to do it.
We're here to promote the health and prosperity of people's businesses by making them safe and helping them prosper. So until then, we'll see everybody next Tuesday for another great show, right?
All right, man.
Absolutely. We'll see everyone soon, and have a great day. And we'll talk soon.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Bye-bye now.